Though the trial of Professor Cyril and Ndifon, the controversial professor of law and suspended dean of the law faculty at the University of Calabar, over alleged sexual harassment of female students is ongoing, protests have begun to fire up concerning another professor of law and former vice-chancellor alleged to have been involved in a similar crime. Despite the efforts made by the then vice-chancellor of the University of Uyo, requesting the Minister of Education at the time, Adamu, to suspend NFOC Essence inauguration as the Vice-Chancellor because of his indictment for sexual assault and forgery. He was installed as the VC. Moreover, he got rewarded with the rank of Senior Advocate of Nigeria in 2017, notwithstanding that his alleged offences were in the public domain. The accused professor, yet to be held to be properly investigated or prosecuted, is Ndifon Essen, a former Vice-Chancellor of the University of Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria's South. Essen was named in a ruling on 14th July 2005 by the Court of Appeal Calabar, which affirmed the judgment of the Federal High Court Calabar, nullifying the university's expulsion of a female student, Linda Essel, over her alleged involvement in examination malpractice. Essel, at the time she was accused of examination malpractice in March 1995, was in her second year as a law student at the University of Uyo, while Essen was a senior lecturer, then in the university's law faculty. Besides denying the allegation of examination malpractice, Essel was able to convince both the trial and appellate court that Essen manipulated the university's system against her because she had refused to accede to his love overtures. Interestingly, it was Essen who invigilated Miss Essel in the examination that she was accused of malpractice. It was also he who chaired the examination malpractice panel that tried Miss Essen, which the court ruled as being against the principles of fair hearing and natural justice. Miss Essel also told the court in her affidavit that Mr. Essen, as a chairperson of the examination malpractice panel, forged and signed the signature of another member of the panel, Mr. Akpan, as well as doctored the proceedings of the panel. The Court of Appeal, in its judgment delivered by Justice Dalhatu Adamu, declared that Ms. Essel's statement, as contained in her affidavit, were serious indictment on Essen. Since there was no counter-affidavit by Mr. Essen, the court in its unanimous decision held that Ms. Essel's allegations, not having been challenged, contradicted, and controverted, must be deemed to be true and correct. University of Uyo and Mr. Essen did not appeal the judgment, and Ms. Essel went on to complete her first law degree and graduated from the university. About 10 years later, the University of Uyo ignored Mr. Essen's indictment for sexual harassment and forgery and went ahead to appoint him as the Vice-Chancellor of the federal government-owned institution, despite the media's extensive reports on the matter. Mr. Essen, in September 2017, was bestowed with the title of the Senior Advocate of Nigeria, the highest honor in the law profession in Nigeria, despite the opposition to it by some civil society organizations. The prosecution of Mr. Ndifon for alleged sexual harassment while Mr. Essen works freely and even gets elevated and celebrated highlights the disparity in the application of the rule of law in Nigeria.